There was no HBCU players drafted in the NFL draft this year. We broke that down on Monday, but we wrap up our draft coverage, and I'm joined by Gerald Huggins to break down the best fits from our undrafted free agents, and they all come from our premier players. Oh, yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Now, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it. I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic Monopoly. So join your friends and the 150 million people who have downloaded Monopoly Go today by joining up on the App Store or Google Play. Today's all about the undrafted free agent fits. So we have Sundiata Anderson, we have Anem Dankwah, and we have Mikey Victor. Those are three really quality fits. So Gerald Huggins and I break down how each of them fits with their new team. Gerald, not the happiest circumstances to be speaking about fits, and this topic kind of changed over time. At first, it was we're gonna take as many as get drafted, and we're gonna put some more. And it was like, okay, maybe we'll do one or two, and then we end up having no draftees, right? So that's how this thing just gets worked up, and then we just pick three of our premier athletes and their fits, and we kick it off with Sundiata Anderson, a guy who, when he first went to Seattle, I was like, oh yeah, he gets to be with the defensive line guru. And then I remembered Mike McDonald took over this job. So now he's stepping into a new role. And that's really interesting to me because in an odd front where his hand won't be in the dirt as much, I want to see how much they have him drop. And I'm talking about in preseason because we're not just projecting these guys to hit the 53-man roster. But I saw him do it at the Shrine Bowl. We saw him do it in the Shrine Bowl. And he was very raw because he hadn't been asked to do that a lot. But he'll be asked to do that a little bit more. And I think him stepping into a new scheme is one of my more interesting things about Sundiata Anderson's fit with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably be a Sam backer in their 3-4, more of lined, more on the tight end side than being in the free side where Will would be. I feel like he could probably do either or. But all that to say, I put him in his scout report. He does have the versatility to be a stand-up outside linebacker in the odd front scheme. So it's not a shocker to me that he picked up by the Seahawks. I can see why. When you look at the Michigan defenses over the years, their outside guys kind of have that build, kind of longer, kind of stoutly built, 250-plus guys. I know Aiden Hutchinson is, he's a 6'7" or something like that. Like, he's different, but they had a few other guys that, were, I guess, normal size, very good size. But you have see a guy like Hutchinson, that's like rare size, pushing 6'7". But all in all, Sonny does have a good, I believe he does have a solid fit, just off the strength that he is a solid run defender, despite him still needing some work with certain aspects of his strength. But he has showcased that he can play inside, so that means he definitely knows how to play the run. He utilizes his length well. He's a hustle guy. He throws all his body weight into you. You have to block him every play because he's going to give you his all. Solid tackler. Of course, you could clean up your tackling. Definitely going to be a backer now, so you have to clean up your tackle. You're going to be in space more. But like we saw at the Shrine Bowl, when you just have an athlete that's a solid athlete, he showed some fluidity in coverage. He didn't look like a newborn giraffe, so it didn't look bad. It's just something that you could tell he hasn't really been asked to do. But one thing we know that you could go into it knowing you have a solid run defender with high upside as a pass rusher. Now you just got to show him how to just drop it to his shallow zones, hook curls, curl flats, stuff like that.
And I'll say this, as far as play strength goes, having operated on the inside, I correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not doing as much evaluation of athletes in the transition to the NFL as you are. I would assume that tight ends in the NFL are much stronger than tight ends in college. But I would say that Sundiata's experience playing on the inside should allow him to be not taken off guard by the play strength gap or the play strength jump that he'll see in the NFL when going against more tight ends as that strong side backer.
Yeah, I don't see him struggle, like say he will struggle. I don't see. Even during the Shrine Bowl week, he did very well against one of the better blocking tight ends in the country, Hines from South Dakota State. It was actually a really strong battle, and Hines is a really big tight end. I think Hines is probably 260, pushing 270, he looks like anyway. So he also showed his ability to just defeat tight ends. I think he actually went against our boy that was at Bethune one time. They had like a real, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like they went against each other. I think it was either his junior year or sophomore year. Probably his junior year. So, I mean, he has experience going against tight ends. He's not going to get I'm not really worried about him going against tight ends. I'm be honest.
Yeah,
that's like
I'm not either.
I mean, yeah, against the run, I'm not really concerned with him. I mean, in coverage, if he has to cover someone man to man, I mean, he hasn't really been asked to do that. But if he is asked to do that, I just hope he just uses length and your reactions, your reactive athleticism, because that's the only way that's going to be a smoother transition for him to just But I don't think they're going to ask him to do that. I just think they probably just ask him to jam up the tight end, drop it to your hook curl, drop it to your curl flat. You may get that occasional have to, cover the low crosser. If it happens, you just try to stay under it, track the near hip, turn your head once you see the receiver hands go up. Easier said than done.
Right.
That's what I coach my linebackers to do. But, like I said, it's easier said than done. But when you have a good athlete, they just find a way to make it work.
And I'll say this before we transition into Mikey Victor. One thing I'll say that's not X's and O's related is you saw Sundiata's want to at the Shrine Bowl. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was on punt coverage, right? You were there. Was he on punt coverage?
Yeah, he worked them on everything. And
he was in kickoff. So the desire to play special teams, because not everybody has it, right? Like it's easy to say, oh, go play special teams. Some people really it just isn't in their heart. But with Sundiata, it is. And you saw it at the Shrine Bowl. And I think that those are the type of things that will benefit him, because we all know as an undrafted free agent, we don't even have to make this about HBCU or not. As an undrafted free agent or as a late round draft pick, the ability to play special teams a lot of times is your way onto the roster. And then you just make it what you can make it from there. But I think that Sundiata will have the ability or the desire to play special teams that could lead to him standing out in the preseason. So I wanted to highlight that, because that's another thing in addition to some of the defensive plays that he'll maybe have to, or transitions that he'll have to make. But now we move into Mikey Victor, because Victor is a player who we were speaking about before. And I said, let's go ahead and type this up. You spoke about him possibly having a route to the 53-man roster. And I want to explore that as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. The stinking Sixers are still alive. My Pelicans are not, but I told you, and you'll see it on there. I don't care. I'm still wearing the shirt because that's my squad. Even though I wore it to the Last Supper, I'm still going to rock them. But you got the Sixers still alive. The Cavs and Magic is still going on. You have the Mavs and Clippers still going on. There's some really Heat and Celtics will still be going. There's some really good series that are still alive. So go ahead and go to FanDuel.com/locked-on to make sure that you can make some money on it. If you're new to FanDuel, here goes the catch for you. $150 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Doesn't matter if you win, doesn't matter if you lose. As long as you put down your first bet, you get $150 back guaranteed. So go ahead and go to FanDuel.com/locked-on to make every moment more, whether that's with the NBA, NHL, NFL for the futures, or you also have the MLB. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. And remember, for your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first of its kind 24/7 live sports stream on YouTube. So go to Locked On Sports Today and check out what is showing. Gerald, I meant to say this to you before. Congratulations. I think this is your first national class that you scouted, right? With the Shrine Bowl?
These were, this is my first year scouting with the Shrine Bowl. So, I actually started with them in July of last year. So, this is like my first cycle, my first draft.
So, congratulations to you, man. I seen you on Twitter. You had a whole, I had guys I knew from the Shrine Bowl, right? But you had a bunch of guys that you scouted, some that went to the Shrine Bowl, some that didn't. And, you my guy. So, I want to make sure that I give you congratulations because I see the work. You know what I'm saying? So, congratulations on that. Now let's move into one of your guys, Mikey Victor. And I'm going to primarily defer to you because you are a Victor guy. Like you are the one who has instilled the faith in him that I have. So I get a lot of my feelings about Victor from you. You made a comment that you feel like he has a decent path or the one of the better paths to the 53-man roster. Not saying it's easy, but I want you to kind of elaborate on what that meant because I don't even know the elaboration yet.
So, I'm going to just keep it simple. Everything that I highlighted about Mikey prior to is the same that I highlight now. End of the day, Mikey Victor, he is a 6'3", 200+ pound corner, very long, he's a really good, he's a good athlete. He has all, and just outside of just, me just saying like, hey, he is one of the most instinctual corners that I have scouted this year. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for how smart he is on the field. I even saw it in person. Just watching him just break off certain routes and have certain feels for certain route combinations. And he's in deep coverage or in the shallow zones or in the intermediate level. I'm not going to even get to that part. From an athletic standpoint, the kid used to play receiver. He was a really good basketball player. He could jump out the gym. I know his vert might not say it, but if you watch him on film, he floats in the air. You just watch him work out, he floats in the air. He has above average. Now, I know the 40 thing that people kind of harped on, and some people told me that might have been his reasoning for not, getting selected, whatever. Fine. End of the day, his versatility goes beyond, his ability to just be an outside corner or a nickelback. He can also play on special teams just due to the fact that he has the height, weight, speed to be an effective special teams player. And that's what he's going to do. He looked good doing it during the Shrine Bowl, during drills and stuff like that. I just think moving forward, that is just, I know I call him the blueprint. I always say, he didn't do anything wrong. It's just things just don't always fall how I feel they should, but that's neither here nor there. He didn't get a lot of special teams reps in college per se, but that doesn't mean he can't be effective doing so. I just feel like in his situation, he's a versatile guy. So he could play in a big nickel. They might be able to convert him to safety, or he could play outside corner. That versatility will go a long way. And the kind of player that I know he is, it won't be hard for him to pick up on certain things because he's an instinctual, smart football player. And, you could throw him on kickoff. You could throw him on kick return. You could throw him on punt. You could throw him on punt return. You could literally do whatever you want. He's a perfect mold that you want. He has the ability, he has the size, he has the athleticism to make you can do whatever you want, Mikey Victor. So that's why when I look at, the Patriots depth chart, there's some corners in there. It's about, what I see right here. They have about they have about 9 corners. They have about 6 safeties, and they have 2 nickelbacks. So they probably only going to keep maybe half of that. I think for him, his path is strong. I know they have one of our guys there already, Isaiah Bolden, and that was a big thing for him, that long, athletic guy that, has some juice as a special teams guy too. But I think Mikey has all the capability to make a roster. In worst case, practice squad. But I don't think this is a practice squad player. I'm still going to stand strong on this kid is maybe because I had more interaction with him, so I know where it comes from in his head. Because he's just like he just loves football. Like he's a very hard worker. He's very anal about everything he does, and it's really brought him to this point. So I guess maybe I'm just advocating for him a little more because I've been watching him for 2 years now, and he's a guy that has gotten better. He hasn't gotten worse. So it just doesn't stop when he gets to the NFL. It's just better, even better coaching, better resources. Everything he's going to need is only going to make him better. So you can't tell me this kid won't have a Patriots jersey on in the middle of the season. I just can't see that happening.
And I'll be interested. Like I said, I get a lot of my faith in him from you and watching him. So I'll be interested. He's another guy who's going into, I don't know if I necessarily call it a different regime because, the head coach is different, but I don't think the defense, I don't know if you expect that defense to change too much under Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? I'm thinking some twists and some wrinkles, but I'm not thinking an overhaul. That's how I'm viewing it.
Yeah, I for the most part, I don't see too much change. I feel like they're gonna. I gotta look at the DeMarcus Cummings. I gotta really look into him to see what his scheme would be like for him. But for the most part, we know. Well, you got Christian Gonzalez on one side, and then you have Don Jones. So it's like, okay, at least with Christian, long, athletic, aggressive corner. So Mikey might not be the most aggressive guy per se. He's not like Keenan Isaac was last year, but they just have different flavors, different style. But you have to know how to tackle, which Mikey has improved on mightily, as you can see. You got to be able to cover multiple different zone schemes, cover 3, cover 4. A lot of teams like to run quarters, but like I said, I got to look into the defensive coordinator to see what his scheme is like. But I think, in my report, Mikey's a majority zone coverage corner that has the ability to play man if need be. But if you really want him to play man, you kick him inside to play against bigger receivers. It's just so much it's so much you could do with him. You can put him in different packages. You just got to figure it out. Sometimes you just get the athlete and you make him what you want him to make him. And I think Mikey is in that position where, Patriots historically like versatile players anyway. So
yeah, that's the thing.
You just never know.
And hey, you advocated for your guy. You saw my guy went, huh? My guy Major.
Yeah, he went to your
He went to my team, man.
I know you were happy.
I was so happy.
I know you were happy. I know you were happy. I know you.
Did you see me? Did you see me? And this isn't HBCU, but did you see me request Christian Boyd? Did you see me request him?
I did.
Yeah, then it happened. Then we got Major. I said, okay.
Yeah, okay. Christian, that's a dude.
I know it is.
Major. Major. I think Major. When you put him on the football field, he's gonna be in position. He's gonna put himself in position to make plays. So he's gonna. I feel like he'll get through many camp. I think he'll be on the roster going into the fall camp.
I do too. I think it's gonna be about he has to play special teams. And I'll say this, right? You got to kind of go about your guy. I'll say something about my guy and my team at the same time. It's not deep at the position, right? Like it's just not a lot of depth at that position to where if he plays special teams, he could make. They need to fill that position out. I'll put it like that. They drafted one in Jalen Ford in the 5th round from Texas. But overall, it's just not a lot of linebackers. They probably have, including Major, I'm trying to think, Nephi Sewell is injured. I don't know if he'll be back by training camp. So going into training camp, I'm thinking 4, 5, no 6. They got a couple Jacksons, DeMarco Jackson, Jordan Jackson. Then they got the 3 main guys, and they got the guy they just drafted. I think that room is really ripe for the picking when it comes to Isaiah Major. If he can play special teams, he'll find himself on that roster. So in the same way that you kind of feel about Victor with the opportunity being there, I'll say this to you guys. I think that Isaiah Major, if he takes advantage, the opportunity is definitely there. But let's move from one Gerald guy to one Darian guy back to another Gerald guy, which is Anem Dankwah. And you told me that Dankwah has the best chance, or excuse me, he has the best fit of all of our UDFAs. And I really want to explore that as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, the mobile twist on the classic game Monopoly. I love this. I love this because it really does allow me to compete. How many times I got to tell you? I haven't played sports in a decade almost, right? Like, I don't have many things that I get to just compete in on a daily basis. I don't have that. So for me to be able to get that opportunity with Monopoly Go in a very lighthearted way, it's very fun for me. It's entertaining. It's not like, oh, live my life for Monopoly Go, but I'll tell you what, it does make living life a whole lot better. You landed on my property, give me 300. You landed on my property right here too, give me 400. Like, oh, I landed on your property, I gave you this little 500. But that's okay, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to take your money out your vault. I'm going to rob your vault because I see you at the top of the leaderboard. I can take a little something from you. You ain't going to miss it. It's all of these fun aspects that I appreciate about Monopoly Go. I get to run up in your vault. You get to potentially run in mine, but I don't really want that. So I just enjoy all of that. Nobody running my vault. I'm good on that. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you for listening. So you better listen and go ahead and go to Monopoly Go on the App Store or Google Play. Go ahead and go to Monopoly Go and download it today. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. We're wrapping up our draft coverage with our best UDFA fits. So right now we went through the Seattle Seahawks having Sundata Anderson, the New England Patriots with Mikey Victor. And now we're moving to the guy who Coach Gerald Huggins says is the best fit, and that's Anem Dankwah to the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get to the fit, I want to speak my piece on it a little bit, where what concerns me is that as a UDFA, I wonder if they're going to have the commitment to Anem Dankwah's development that we know he's going to have to do. I don't know what the loyalty level is. Maybe he ends up being a practice squad player for a guy, or for a year, but we know that Dankwah was meant to come in and develop. He wasn't supposed to be some instant guy. And as an offensive tackle, there's not really the special teams aspect that you get with other positions. Mm-hmm. But I really want to see if they're committed to the development. And if they are, I think there's something there, especially knowing that they want to prep somebody for being behind Lane Johnson. You're already going to have to transition him to the right side, which is part of the development. If they can be patient with the Anem Dankwah, then I'd be really interested to see where that goes. That's my only skepticism is, are they going to have that patience?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess, that really depends on what we're going to find out what the number is. What is a contract that kind of tells like how they really feel about the prospect to an extent.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at Philly's offensive tackles. They're all big. Like, they're just big. They like big offensive tackles. They just signed Mekhi Becton. They have a type.
They signed Mekhi Becton?
Yeah.
They must have did that after for Eastern when the whole compensatory stuff went off.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. It was either today or yesterday, but they signed.
It was probably today.
Yeah, they signed them, man. So they have a type. Everything's Mekhi is bigger than Dankwah. So he's big. I mean, so my thing is, and then honestly, they have the best.
Oh, that was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Okay, yeah. So yesterday, yeah. So I mean, but they have the best offensive line coach. Like, Jeff Stoutland is the man. Like, look who I think he has, like, I can't remember the record. I think he has like a Pro Bowl in like 6 straight years. It's some crazy. He has some crazy. Yeah, it's something like that. But he's like the best offensive line coach in the NFL. My personal opinion. I think let's see who he had, like Brandon Brooks, Jason Kelsey, Peters, Evan Matt, Lane Johnson, Dickerson. Mm-hmm. Golly, man. The kid the kid. Wow. The guy just runs off.
You've been scouting too long, man.
I know, right? I'm over here about to give him a scout report. Jesus Christ. But no, I mean, when you look, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, they have, been a really stout offensive line. They've been doing it throughout his whole tenure. Every time he had any offensive line he had a hand on, he's gotten the most out of those guys. So if he can't get it done, then I just don't see. I don't see how he can. I mean, he was able to churn out. So I mean, granted, now let's be fair here.
Mm-hmm.
There's Lane Johnson, Kelsey. Those are like generationally athletic offensive linemen. Like,
yeah,
they're not supposed to be that athletic. I think Lane Johnson was only this. I think like the second fastest behind Teron Armstead in that 40. So Peters is a freak athlete. Kelsey ran like a 4-1 shuttle at offensive lineman. That's insane. I think it was something like that, 4 flat. So now, granted, that doesn't mean the man can't. I mean, that just means like he's getting a lot out of his guys that are already athletic, which is fine because there are a lot of athletic guys that cannot play football.
This is facts.
But they have a type, and they like plus athletes on their offensive line because of the way they scheme things up. You got to pull, you got to pin and pull, you got to block in space, screen game, and you got to be tough. So my biggest, always, even when I talk to Anem, finish. If he puts that 350 into every time, just finish him. Like, you see spurts of it.
Yeah.
Like every time. Like, just do it every time. He has big, heavy hands. He has a really long reach, strong anchor when his body, is positioned properly. Let's say that. Just when his body is positioned properly. The defensive lineman, once I see those those horizontal shoulders, that's it don't matter how big you are. Horizontal shoulders mean even feet. Even feet means you're getting beat. So
out the club.
Yeah, I'm talking about edge rushers. But when he gets his hands on you and he's determined to put you in the dirt, you go in the dirt. So I just want that more often. And hey, like I said, it's the best offensive line coach probably in the country on all levels, maybe. I believe now I will say the guy. The offensive line coach from North Carolina A&T has something to say because he's pumped out some guys too. They always got a good offensive line. They always got to run.
And may I mention, Tariq Stewart was one of the players. I know he didn't get drafted, but Tariq Stewart out of North Carolina A&T was one of the players who he wasn't even at the Shrine Bowl, and I had a scout mention him to me. Yeah, he's double down on that statement about the A&T O-line coach.
Oh yeah, he's a dude too. So I mean, I feel like Dankwah's in a good situation just because of the coaching, and I just believe he's in a really good spot. Lane Johnson's getting a little up there in age. Maybe that might be a thing. Right now, he's playing just fine. So I think he came in the league in like 2013, and I think the other tackle, Jordan
Mulata.
I think he came in 2018. So they're not. Lane's a little on the older side, but Mulata, he's young, but finding something to be a nice replacement for Lane or swing tackle, maybe be able to throw him at guard. I'm not the biggest fan of him going at guard, but he did it before. That's more of a leverage thing for me. I think he has a shot, man. I think if they want to, I think they have a shot of, really building him up and having something really special with him. We just gotta see how that looks.
I'm with it, man. I'm very excited. I love the offensive line coach, excuse me. I really want to let me see this. I love the offensive line coach, and it makes me excited for what I want to see, which is his likely transition to the right side. I don't desire that for anybody, but I think as far as knowing what Philadelphia wants, their reports have come out that they would like to set up the future successor for Lane Johnson. And if he shows potential on the right side, Anem Dankwah could continue to learn behind one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL in Lane Johnson. So I think that is a perfect marriage. Great coach, great mentor, but it's going to be on Dankwah to be able to move to the right side, which we know not everybody can do. It's not as easy as it seems. So I appreciate you, G.
You know who else is on Philly? I just found out.
Who?
Shaq Davis. I didn't know he was on Philly. He was on the Eagles.
Is he? Oh yeah, he is. I remember because they stole him. I remember being mad about that because he was with us at first. We could use him now, but
yeah,
it what it is. Is what it is. Look at Philadelphia, always having an embarrassment of riches. I don't like those guys. So I appreciate you for listening to us, unless you're a Philadelphia fan. Well, no, I still appreciate the view and the listen. So
great draft, man. Shout out to Howard. He's top 3, maybe 2. He up there. He's not lower than 3.
I can't stand those guys.
Hey man, the league just gave him Mitchell and Dijon. Like, y'all, they gave him. What do you want him to do? Of course, he's gonna pick them. He had a need. He just sat back and waited for y'all not to pick the guy.
Also, they want a successor for Lane, but they did not draft a tackle. So because they didn't draft a tackle, that does still clear, no pun intended, it clears a lane for Dankwah to be able to be that successor of the future. So I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. I appreciate you, G, for coming on here. We got started late with draft, but I think we got some really quality content in over the last week.
Can I put this out here before we go?
What's up?
As much as that in our HBCU community, I know we be okay. So even I had to really just sit and just think. Once you look at the numbers, it's not an HBCU issue.
No,
because the G5, I believe they had less picks than the Missouri Valley Conference. So just put that out there. 2 things. 1, this is not an HBCU issue. This is the Power Fives are just overpowering the draft, and also it's still a bunch of 25-year-olds, 24-year-olds still playing from that COVID stuff. So 2026, it should be back to normal, quote unquote normal. But will we ever see the 24 FCS guys drafted again like we did in 22? Maybe. The only way we're going to see that is we could wash out some of these old guys that's just been hanging around in COVID era. So we get some normal age 22-year-old rookies again, 21. That would be nice. Not 26, 25. That's 1. 2, if you're in the FCS, stay your butt there. Go ahead. Go. If you go to G5, there is no guarantee. There's not one guarantee. As you just saw the draft, the G5 has struggled to get draft picks as well. So if you're an FCS guy, you want to go to G5 conference, realize the FCS is pumped out, if not the same, in a close.
Yeah, it's the distribution, and I'm glad you said that. People don't really want to hear it, but if they hear it, hopefully they remember it. They don't want to hear it because they want to be angry about it, right? Like it's an emotional thing. I spoke about that on yesterday's episode. It's an emotional thing when it comes to the draft, but it is important to remember what's really going on. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and hopefully they can hear that from you, and they'll take it differently than from hearing it from me. So I appreciate y'all.
That's how I feel. Y'all mad? How y'all think I feel?
I scouted these guys.
Yo, come on. But I'm sorry. Go ahead and end the show.
Hey, man. Let's see. That's going to come out Wednesday. So Thursday's episode. So until tomorrow, take care. Stay blessed. Peace.